What if I told you World War II wasn't just about stopping evil, but about setting up a new world order? One where the people in power used war, racism, fear, and sexual control to crush dissent and make sure they stayed in control. Before Hitler even invaded Poland, before the first bomb dropped, the first people to be targeted weren't enemy soldiers, they were German citizens. The first ones arrested were socialists, communists, trade unionists, LGBTQ people, journalists, and anyone else who challenged the system. After the Reichstag fire in 1933, which was a mysterious event that Hitler used to claim an emergency, he blamed it on the communists and arrested over 10,000 political opponents overnight. No trial, no evidence, just fucking gone. Then came the laws. Jews, Roma, Black Germans, and Slavs were labeled subhuman. LGBTQ people were criminalized under paragraph 175. Thousands were arrested, tortured, or even sent to die in camps like Dachau, which was originally built for political prisoners. Racism wasn't just an idea, it was a weapon. It was used to unite good Germans against imaginary enemies and distract from the real oppressors at the top. They also cracked down on sexuality. Being gay was considered a crime. Living outside strict gender roles was considered dangerous. Because when people break free from control over their bodies, they become harder to manipulate. In Spain, dictator Francisco Franco, backed by Hitler and Mussolini, slaughtered leftists, anarchists, and workers during and after the Spanish Civil War. He outlawed unions, he banned LGBTQ existence, he censored the press and pushed hyper-religious nationalism to force the population into obedience. In Italy, Mussolini banned birth control, abortion, and sex education. Why? To increase the number of Italian babies who could grow up to fight in wars. He crushed socialist movements and jailed labor leaders. Same playbook, different country. In Japan, the empire pushed the idea of the Yamato master race to justify invading and brutally occupying Korea, China, and Southeast Asia. They erased local cultures, they used forced labor, and they kidnapped over 200,000 women, mostly Korean and Chinese, to be comfort women, a government-run system of sexual slavery. This wasn't about protecting tradition. It was about domination, physically, culturally, and sexually. In Britain, colonial soldiers from India, Africa, and the Caribbean fought and died for the British Empire during World War II, but returned home to racism, poverty, and police brutality. When India demanded independence during the war, Britain jailed Gandhi and violently crushed protests because the empire still needed their labor, not their freedom. In America, Japanese Americans were rounded up and sent to internment camps without trials, without charges, just for having the wrong ancestry. Black soldiers who fought Hitler came home to segregation and lynch mobs. Native Americans, Puerto Ricans, Filipinos, drafted to fight but denied equal rights when they returned. Meanwhile, back in the US, the rich were getting richer. Ford and General Motors made vehicles for the Nazis. IBM helped Hitler organize the Holocaust using a punch card tracking system. Standard Oil sold fuel additives that Germany needed for its warplanes. DuPont supplied explosives, and Coca-Cola's German division created Fanta when syrup shipments stopped and kept selling it to the Nazi population. And how was this legal? Congress passed the Lend-Lease Act of 1941, a law that let U.S. companies mass-produce weapons and supplies for profit with guaranteed government contracts. It turned war into a business, and we, the public, paid for it. And when the war ended, those same elites redrew the world map. The U.S. dollar became the global standard. The World Bank and IMF locked poorer nations into debt traps. Colonies in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East tried to break free and were violently put down with U.S. or European backing. NATO, the UN, institutions we're told promote peace were mostly designed to protect elite political and corporate power. Back at home, a new campaign started, Family Values. Women who had worked during the war were pushed back into the kitchen. Men were expected to be obedient soldiers, obedient workers, and obedient husbands, and if you didn't fit in, you were punished. The U.S. launched the Lavender Scare, purging LGBTQ people from government jobs, calling them security threats. Meanwhile, churches were co-opted. In Nazi Germany, they promoted something called positive Christianity, a stripped-down, Nazi-approved religion that removed Jewish roots and turned Jesus into a symbol of Aryan nationalism. Faith wasn't spiritual anymore. It was propaganda. Think this is ancient history? Look around. Constant fear of immigrants. Endless culture wars about gender, sexuality, morality, reproduction rights. A military budget bigger than the next 10 countries combined. Billionaires doubling their wealth while we fight over scraps. COVID lockdowns crushed small businesses, but the richest Americans made trillions. Just like during the war, crises create profit for them. War isn't about freedom. It's about obedience. It's about destroying solidarity. It's about replacing hope with fear and building a system where you're too divided to fight back. Racism, nationalism, sexual repression, they aren't natural. They're installed like software to keep us distracted and divided. But if you can see the system, you can break it. Wake up. Build together. Protect each other. Because this time, they won't have anything standing in the way besides you and me.